the special prosecutor. Oko the almighty KSM show so. And I think say right now I already say Obeka the Numasem Akraka boy settings. Now a year special prosecutor. Eko KSM show so ako kan sembi Emma finally wakacha Ghana for say onimpa Ken Ofori-Atta eko then any tia omuhunu airport omanya she wakacha mo me catch him from day one say this guy he knew now him date flight Ofori-Atta the free Ghana, he knew everything. He deliberately sat back and allowed him to go, and he has made it clear to you. And me catch him say OSP no, he does not care about the Amokan. Was spending $50.5 million. And that is what he's worried about and not what you are saying. And if in Anua, we can't just go to the US, spring him up, and bring him. I cannot put a date on it. The central authority in respect of extradition matters is in the US. It matters in the US could decide one thing. The president of the United States, Donald Trump, can step on it and block it and say no. I've heard you say. Somebody Jumano Crampo no me ready something about one here Donald Trump mpene. Kessi Agyabeng wa bodam. Or see say Crampo no or the docket attorney general. Na attorney general ye bibia ne FBI for kasa, DND for kasa, and na obedru America. Na so mo beka so mo Ken Ofori-Atta akokra. President Trump kra beka so mpene. Obesi President Trump abetumi block or catch them say. Or no onye ready so kofa. Ken Ofori-Atta abo mumi enkotie eye de Kessi Agyabeng ewo eye KSM show no so. Would you match them?
OSP must and we would always work together with Attorney General. Attorney General in turn should hold our hands. We are working for one republic, one Ghana. The main perpetrator from our standpoint, the main perpetrator had no intention of returning back to the country. Of course, he had left the country earlier in the year during the transition. Now we should place this in proper context because we've attracted some flag that why did we allow him to go? Mr. He left before 7th January. Between 1st, I know there's that date, but I'm not going to mention it. All I'm saying is between 1st and 6th January, he had left. Who was in power during those few days? And we don't control the airports. We don't control the exit. The OSP doesn't control the exit points. But we are taking flag day in and day out. Why did we allow him? Let me put it this way. His cousin was president. Let's face facts.
Yeah.
Before John Dramani Mahama was sworn in on 7th January, Nana Akufo-Addo was the president.
Yeah.
That was his cousin. He had kept him in the office for more than 7 years. I'm saying when he left, the president was Nana Addo-Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Okay.
At the time he left, we were not getting the cooperation at the time from other security agencies.
You weren't getting any cooperation?
We were not.
You had asked for them?
Oh, we asked for all that, but we were not. It was as if there was a policy of block the OSP out. That was what we were facing, and that was the circumstances under which we were being expected to perform. I think I've complained about these things over national security. Nope. At the time, the situation is different now. National Signals Bureau, nope. At the time, the situation is different now. National Intelligence Bureau, zero. At the time, the situation is different now. I mean, the security setup was stacked up against the OSP, so we will not be able to perform our job. This was the situation in which we found ourselves. And I'm being asked how I let Ken Ofori-Atta through this. We didn't watch him leave. We were powerless. That is the truth. We were powerless. We saw him leave, but we couldn't prevent him from leaving at the airport because we couldn't. Now we can rely on Ghana Immigration Service to block someone. Now we can rely on national security.
Before then, you couldn't.
To block someone. Then, at the time he left, you call up immigration, no one will even bother to respond to you. You write to immigration, no one will even bother to respond to you. And I'm saying this unabashedly. That was the situation we found ourselves in. Once again, before we put him on the Interpol Red Notice, we know he left the state on 1 or 2 occasions. But we believe he's in the state. And we know the area in which he lives. The person lives in the United States. Kessi Agyabeng, Office of the Special Prosecutor, even the Ghana Army. We can't just go into the US, spring him up and bring him. That is what Ghanaians need to understand.
Yeah, and
we
that is
are
what,
going through a certain very tedious extradition process to bring him back. That's why I said. That's why I was joking about it. That if he lived in Agbogba, I would have. He'll be with us as we are speaking. But since he is in a foreign country, I cannot put a date on it. And even then, the central authority in respect of extradition matters in the US could decide one thing. The President of the United States can step on it and block it and say no. You get it? So far as he is in the United States of America, we cannot put a date on it that we are bringing him today, we are bringing him tomorrow. That will be foolhardy.
Courtesy KSM show. So you can watch the KSM show, I think, on YouTube. The KSM show, you can go watch the full interview, and also I think they're on TikTok and also on Facebook, on all platforms. Now, when you know a year interview, no, you see Kessi Agyabeng is playing a game, and that game he's playing a game whereby the post a year po na yebobo na film no, we tampo na kwesi baby, and on one a decide to be bobo na fa. Also, right now, he's putting a blame or the blame on the NPP administration. Now, as we speak, are you going to go back and question the NPP administration why they allowed Ofori-Atta to leave? He's playing on your minds. Because if he tries to blame this current administration, he needs to show evidence why this current administration did not give him any help. So the best thing he can do now is he needs to blame the NPP administration, which at this point, there's no administration, which at this point, every single person has left their position, which at this point, you are basically blaming the wind. Into what he's doing now is that he is playing on your conscience. He is trying to divert the whole thing, the blame that he's supposed to take. He's shifting that blame on an administration that has been dissolved. Now, let's go back into his statements. First of all, I'll say Ofori-Atta left during the transition period between before the 7th. He knows the exact date Ken Ofori-Atta flew out of the country. So it means he had Ken Ofori-Atta's ticket. He knew the day he was leaving. He knew the flight Ken Ofori-Atta was getting on. He knew the terminal he was using. And I can tell you on authority, Ken Ofori-Atta, he used the Macdan terminal. He used the same private jet Ekufuado rented. That's the same jet Ken Ofori-Atta flew with from Ghana. He went through Macdan's terminal. He went with a private jet. It's the same private jet na Ekufuado renti and that was the same private jet that picked Ken Ofori-Atta from Kotoka International Airport. Now, I'll say they don't control the airport. The Special Prosecutor's Office does not control the airport. Yes. But during the transition team were able to stop some things Nana Danko Ekufuado was doing. So if during the transition, you really wanted your voice to be heard, why didn't you come out and do a press conference between the 1st and the 6th to let Ghanaians know that officially, you as the OSP, you are not in charge of immigration, you are not in charge of the airport, but what you are saying is, Ken Ofori-Atta, if he's in this country, he should not leave the country, and that the transition team should take notice of this, and whatever they can do to stop Ken Ofori-Atta exiting Ghana, that day, the transition team would have made sure Ken Ofori-Atta never exited Ghana. But you sat, you watched. You knew the time and date he was leaving. So you enabled him. Because if you had made a move, you had every right to come on TV on the 1st, on the 2nd, on the 3rd, on the 4th, to have a press conference and tell Ghanaians that Ken Ofori-Atta is one person you don't want to leave this country. Because the transition team were even able to stop Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo from doing some things before he left office within that 1 week. So what are you telling us? What stopped you from telling Ghanaians that you are trying to stop Ofori-Atta from leaving and that nobody is helping you? The immigration is ignoring you. The police is ignoring you. The military are ignoring you. What stopped you from letting us know that this is the decision you are taking, this is what you are doing, and that you are not getting support from the current government? That is why he was basically rallying around Akufo-Addo's cousin is Ken Ofori-Atta. He wanted you people to understand that the administration that is gone is supposed to take the blame and that it's not him. Whilst he is the person who deliberately ignored the green light to signal we Ghanaians that we should all come together and stop this. Because if you, the special prosecutor, having Ken Ofori-Atta's itinerary, knowing when he's flying out, knowing the flight he's going with, and the day he was leaving, you could have come out openly to tell Ghana that I don't want Ken Ofori-Atta out because there's an investigation that I know he's guilty and I want to prosecute him. Why didn't you do anything? Now you are telling us about your interaction with the past administration, which has been dissolved and nobody can be traced. So you see, Kessi Agyabeng is lying. Wasn't it the transition period? And a gold, it was in transit leaving Ghana during the transition period. And at the same time, intercepted stop gold from leaving the country. When they say transition, does it mean that nobody can do anything? Technically, there's a new government and that they are doing handover. That means the new government can tell whoever is in charge to put a halt to something happening. That is why during transition, some people can be flagged that you cannot leave the country. So Kessi Agyabeng is basically lying to every single person. He is telling you that don't blame me, blame Akufo-Addo. Who the fuck cares about Akufo-Addo? He is a dead meat, he's a vegetable walking around. And he's doing politics. The president's cousin. We know this is not the first time we have known that Ken Ofori-Atta is Akufo-Addo's cousin, and everyone will protect their cousin. But the law, when the law is applied, it does not matter whether it's your cousin or your brother. We will have to all stick within the law. Why didn't you apply the law? You had options. If you call immigration, they ignore you. You call airport, they ignore you. You call police, they ignore you. You call military, they ignore you. What do? You have another option to tell Ghanaians that some people are not listening to me and that do not blame me if Ken Ofori-Atta leaves Ghana. Why didn't you take that option? You wanted the guy to exit this country. You didn't want to carry that burden. You didn't want to carry the burden. You didn't want to stop this guy from leaving Ghana. If you, Kessi Agyabeng, the way you are tough, you wanted to stop Ken Ofori-Atta, and can we stop it, Ken Ofori-Atta? You want to tell me that if Ken Ofori-Atta say can stop him and sebio oma wu and yes who now your OSP so stop Ken Ofori-Atta enya de oma mbewu an ka be manako ka be stop no. You did not add any urgency to it because you knew what you were doing. You knew what you were doing. You have today you are briefing us every single day. Let me tell you something. With all due respect to you, this is not personal against you, but you are taking us for granted. You don't respect us. If you can't do this job, tell us you can't do the job. Walk away. But the continual disrespect, the consistency in your inconsistency when it comes to Ken Ofori-Atta's issue, it makes you look so terrible and bad. It's an embarrassment when people sit and watch you that you are the special prosecutor of Ghana. You are now telling us today that you can do everything and come to America and try to get the guy, but when the American president does not want it to happen, it will not happen. How did we get there? We're in Ghana when the FBI came. The agencies that are responsible to collaborate with the FBI collaborated with them. Whoever was supposed to be extradited was extradited. Why are you telling us that the President John Mahama has to step in and stop somebody? Why? Those Ghanaians who were picked away, doesn't Mahama know they are citizens of Ghana and that he needs to protect Ghanaians? But the law is the law. It needs to apply. Why are you now bringing this issue of America? Donald Trump, the President of the United States, who might not understand? What are you talking about? Boss, respect us a little bit. We all had belief in you. We thought to say you were young. And that, you know, Special Prosecutor, I'm older than you. I'm older than you. Yeah. We all believed in you. I'm older than you. But we believed to say, we thought Martin do know rabies or Kasa by heart. At the point he was doing nothing, just talking. But we thought to say you are young. You are vocal. You sounded like somebody who was going to be very strict and also very transparent. Majority of us, even though some people raised issues about how cunning you were, we still stood still and said, you can do something.